Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned the honor and privilege of your subscription. And of course, to everybody who's watching, if you enjoy this video, take a few seconds just to click that thumbs up button down below. And if you'd like to take your support for my channel to the next level, there's links in the description on how you can do that. What I wanted to talk about in today's video is the weight of an electric guitar. What should it be, and how can you plan for the weight of a guitar that you haven't even built yet? Well, first of all, when I build an electric guitar, almost all of the guitars that I build will weigh anywhere between 6.5 and 7.5 pounds. I find that that's a pretty good weight. It's not too heavy to where it's fatiguing, but then it's not so light that you start to wonder if the weight might be affecting the tone or sustain or anything like that. Now, I come from the school of thought that weight has very little to do with the tone and the sustain of your guitar. The tone comes from the pickups, and the sustain comes from how well the guitar is set up. Those are things which are easily adjustable. You can swap out pickups, you can improve the setup. As far as the wood is concerned, however, and the weight of the wood, I don't think that it offers enough to affect the tone and sustain to be that concerned with. Instead, weight plays a role in how comfortable the guitar is to play, especially if you're going to be up on stage for an extended period of time. And really, for a lot of folks, especially anybody who's over the age of 30, a heavy guitar can be detrimental to your playing style when you're standing up on stage. The reason why I say over 30 is because studies have shown that almost everybody over the age of 30 shows some degree of disc degeneration in their spine. And over the age of 30, about 50% of those people actually experience pain. So hefting a 10 to 12 pound guitar can cause pain, which in turn is going to affect your ability to perform. And as you get older, there are the percentage of people who experience pain greatly increases. And by the time you're 80, it's like 95% of the people age 80 and over have some kind of pain in their back, neck, lower back, that would prevent you from playing comfortably. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of older people will stop playing. It's the pain that we experience throughout our bodies as we age. It makes it difficult to play. But in terms of weight, that's the main issue, is the ability to stand up on stage for extended periods of time and play. Now, that's unfortunate because you may own a guitar that has amazing tone and sustain that you just love, and you can sit and play the guitar in the studio and record songs with it. But then when you try to go out on the road or perform in a live environment, whether it's at a nightclub or a small venue or a church or anything like that, where you stand up on stage playing that heavy guitar, it can be such that it becomes difficult and uncomfortable to play, and that affects your ability to perform at your best. So a lot of guitar players are looking for ways to make their guitars lighter in weight and therefore more comfortable to play. And the question that I get asked a lot is, how do you pre-plan the weight of a guitar that you haven't even built yet? Is there some kind of magical formula that we use to determine or to estimate the weight of the guitar before we ever build it? Well, the technique that I use is experience. I've built a lot of guitars over the years out of a lot of different parts and materials, and I have a pretty good idea of what combinations are going to yield different weights. And I know, for example, that using a Floyd Rose bridge with locking tuners is going to make for a pretty heavy guitar because those components are really heavy. I know that making a body out of solid walnut is going to make for a really heavy guitar. And a thick, chunky neck is going to obviously be heavier than a thinner, faster playing neck. And then there's other little details like the controls and the fret wire, the truss rod, the tuners. All of those things can have an effect. And really the only way that you could predict the weight of a guitar is to weigh everything, all the parts and materials, before you start to build the guitar. But there's some problems with doing that. First of all, you have to have all the components on hand to weigh them. Well, if during this process you discover that the bridge you've chosen is too heavy, what are you going to do? Set the bridge aside and buy another one that's lighter in weight? That's not always an option for folks. So you could also check the internet and see if the weights are listed by the manufacturer. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they aren't. And even when they are listed, they're not always accurate. You're going to find that when you've got a Floyd Rose bridge that the manufacturer has said is going to weigh, 1.2 pounds, you'll throw it up on a scale and it might end up being 1.8 pounds. It's not always going to be accurate. It just depends on how accurate the information was that was input into the website when they created that page. And it's not always correct. But there are some common sense things that you can do to reduce the weight of the guitar. And some of these strategies have their own prices. And I don't just mean in terms of money. For example, if you want to make the lightest body possible, you're going to want to go with a really super lightweight wood, such as basswood. Basswood is extremely lightweight. So is alder, and so is swamp ash. But there are some prices that you need to consider. With basswood and alder, those woods are really soft. They're not the most durable. They are susceptible to dents and dings and that sort of thing. And really, to give them the best protection, you need to use a polyester clear coat in order to prevent dings and that sort of damage. Certainly not an option for a lot of DIY guitar builders. If you use a wood like swamp ash, which has greater durability but also super light in weight, it's going to cost you financially. Swamp ash guitar blanks are much more expensive than alder or basswood or poplar or any of those other really lightweight woods. You also have to use certain types of woods when it comes to making the neck. You can't use basswood to make a neck. You can't use poplar or alder. They're not strong enough. They're not stiff enough to resist string tension. So you have to use a really strong wood, such as maple or even mahogany. Those woods will resist the string tension, but they do add a little bit more weight. And then when it comes to selecting wood, you'll notice that once you've done it long enough, like I have, you can get 5 identically dimensioned slabs of any species. It could be mahogany or alder or swamp ash or maple, whatever. And every one of those 5 boards is going to weigh slightly different. And that's just the reality of wood. Wood is not consistent when it comes to weight. It's something that Mother Nature has provided us. So when you visit a website like Wood Database to figure out what the typical weight is of a specific species that you might be interested in making a guitar out of, that weight that is listed is a general estimate for that species. But when you start to weigh actual boards, you may find that the weight is significantly different than what is listed on those websites. So as you can see, it can become very difficult to estimate the weight of the wood prior to cutting, carving, routing, and sanding it into the final guitar shape. What you have to do is use experience in selecting wood, or use my experience or experience of other luthiers who've been doing this for a long time to figure out what species is best to use if you're trying to go for a lightweight guitar. And like I said, it's going to be your basswood, your alder, swamp ash, poplar, those species of wood which are really light in weight. Now you can find really lightweight mahogany as well, but you're going to have to do quite a bit of shopping, and you're going to have to really test out a lot of different boards to find the one that's light in weight, because with mahogany, the weight can be all over the place. And you don't want to be confused and select a piece of sapelli, because that looks a lot like mahogany. It's easy to be fooled into thinking it is, but the weight is dramatically heavier than any typical species of either African or Honduran mahogany that's out there. Another thing to consider is that most of your hardwoods, your maples, your rosewoods, they're all going to be heavier in weight because of their density. They have a higher degree of density, which is why they make great fretboards and neckwoods, because that density helps to resist the pull of the strings and prevents them from excessive warping and bowing. But they're heavier, and in some cases they can also be more expensive. I've tried to make entire guitar necks out of rosewood. I've even had slabs of rosewood that were big enough to make bodies, but the weight is extremely excessive. Same thing if you're thinking about making a guitar out of walnut. Walnut is very, very heavy. So if you're concerned about weight, you want to try to stay away from those heavier woods and try to go with the lightest woods that you can, where you can get away with it. And another strategy that some folks will like to employ is to use a really light wood like basswood for the core of the body, but then put a thin maple top and a thin maple back, which improves the durability without significantly adding to the weight. Now, if you've got this really gorgeous slab of rosewood or walnut and you just definitely want to use it for a guitar body, another thing you can do is to slice off the top of the wood, set that aside, and then route out the inside of the body to reduce weight. Remove as much material as you can. Reduce the weight without affecting the strength and stability. You definitely need to leave some wood around where the neck is going to mount into the body, as well as some wood where the bridge is attached to the body. But you can route out cavities around those components and make the body a lot lighter in weight. Then you can take that cap that you sliced off earlier and glue that back down to the body, and you'll have a nice walnut body that weighs about the same as what a swamp ash or a basswood body is going to weigh. But it will have that beauty and that extreme durability that is inherent in walnut. Now, when it comes to the components, the bridge, the pickups, the tuners, weight is all over the place. And common sense will tell you that a bridge like a Floyd Rose bridge is going to weigh significantly more than just a simple top loader hardtail. With tuners, for example, the more features your tuner has, the greater the weight. And when I say features, I'm talking about, for example, locking tuners, which have a mechanism that can lock the string, making string changes a lot easier. There are even tuners out there that will lock the string and clip off the excess string automatically. But all these features, as you add them to the tuners, are going to add weight, and that makes the headstock significantly heavier than what you may be intending. As a result, your guitar can suffer from neck dive, meaning as soon as you take your hand off of the neck, your body's going to drop. So to alleviate that, if you're concerned about neck dive, is you want to use the lightest tuners you can get, and that usually means very basic tuners. And you can get really great quality basic tuners. Gotoh makes them, Grover makes them. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different, Hip Shot makes a lot of, they make some really great lightweight tuners too. The open geared ones, those are very light in weight, and you can use those to bring down that weight if you're concerned that your guitar may suffer from neck dive. Now, as far as pickups are concerned, you're kind of limited in what you can do. Just know that your humbuckers tend to be heavier in weight because you've got 2 bobbins and a big bar magnet in them. P90s are really just about the heaviest because in many cases the P90 has 2 humbucker magnets on the bottom of the pickup, so that adds a significant amount of weight, plus the coils are pretty heavy themselves. Your Tele and Strat style single coils are going to be a little bit less weight, a little bit lighter in weight, but obviously, you know, you're affecting tone here as well. So I wouldn't worry so much about pickup selection. Bridge selection, again, the more features the bridge has, just like the tuners, the heavier it's going to be. Now, if you're dead set on using a Floyd Rose tremolo, what you might want to consider, if you can afford it, is a titanium bridge. I've used titanium Floyd Rose bridges before, and they are extremely light in weight. And they're really impressive when it comes to what you get and the weight that it ends up. However, they're really, really expensive. So it's not necessarily something that a lot of guitar builders or guitar players can afford. But if you can swing the money for something like that and you really want a Floyd Rose, titanium is definitely the way to go. And I don't mean just, you know, a titanium screw or a titanium saddle. I mean the entire thing is made out of titanium. That makes for a much lighter bridge. If you can't do that, you could opt for just a regular Fender style tremolo. Keep it really basic and simple. You can also consider replacing the bridge block for something that's lighter in weight. Your brass bridge blocks are going to be pretty heavy, but you can also, again, if you can swing it, replace that bridge block with a titanium bridge block. You can also go with a shorter length, which is going to eliminate some weight. So you can plan for that. But as far as significant savings in weight, you're just going to have to weigh whether some of those features are necessary for your style of guitar playing and decide, you know, do you want to forego those features, or are you willing to accept a little extra weight and have those features? That's really what it's going to come down to. And you can always go with that heavier Floyd Rose bridge, but then consider a much lighter wood for the body, or chambering the body to bring that weight down. Now, as far as the electronics are concerned, they don't really add that much weight, but when you start adding a lot of electronics, yes, it's going to add a lot, some weight, additional weight to the guitar. And, you know, then there's other little things like strap buttons. You can go with just your standard strap button and save weight compared to a locking strap button. But now we're starting to split hairs when it comes to weight. So there's a lot to consider. And unfortunately, the only formula that I know of for calculating the weight of a guitar before you ever build it is to simply weigh all the components and then add up all that weight. But even then, all you're going to be getting is an estimate. It's not going to be dead accurate. And what I always shoot for when I build guitars is to keep that weight in the 6 to 8 pound range. And I can do that pretty easily by selecting certain components and making certain choices with regard to the wood or chambering, that sort of thing. So I hope you found this video to be useful. I know it doesn't give you that magic bullet that so many people expect when they watch YouTube videos, but I live in the real world, and magic bullets don't always exist in the real world. So if you've enjoyed this video, as I said at the beginning, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps this channel. And there's links in the description for how you can help support the channel so that I can keep building guitars and making videos about how I build guitars. So until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for more guitar building videos.